Otherwise, you don't listen to Rabbi, you're going to become too religious. All right, we're back in the yeshiva over here. Bezrat Hashem. It is live, no? Is it live? I don't even know. All right, we'll try it. Okay, so we're holding at mitzvah number 597. Bezrat Hashem, the mitzvah of a woman who her husband died without a brother. There is actually a prohibition for her to go and get married somebody else if he has brothers alive. I mean, the brother died and no children for this wife. Let's say even she's an old baba, 80 years old, and she lived with her husband for 60 years, ain't got no children. Now he dies, and he has a brother, lo and behold, married with grandchildren, maybe even have 2-3 wives, who knows? Maybe he will have one wife, maybe he doesn't have a wife, but he has a lot of grandchildren. Now we tell him, by the way, you have a mitzvah to marry your old baba. Yes, an obligation. Mitzvah de oraita. So 597 is isur for her to go somewhere else, a prohibition to go marry somewhere else. But 598 is actually obligation on the yibum, on the yabam, the brother who's alive, to marry his wife, his dead brother's wife, if she doesn't have any children. Mitzvah that sponsor today, Le'ilui Nishmat Emil ben Yaakov v'Golda, ולרפואה שלמה להבדיל לכל בין החיים לביתים, רפואה שלמה כל חולי עמו ישראל, בכלל מחיה בת לאה, ישמחי במפרד, יעקב ישראל דניאל בן אנג'לה, ולרפואה שלמה, anybody else? Okay, let's go. 597. This is the last week already. This is the last week of all the 630 mitzvot, by the way. Starting tomorrow, we'll be covering 3 mitzvot daily just to catch up. And we'll end on Friday with 613 mitzvah. There will be no discussion on Rabbanan this year because I guess they're not needed. There are only 51 weeks this year, by the way, in the Jewish calendar. 597. There's a prohibition for this woman who we described, a husband died without any children. Doesn't matter the age. Age is not insignificant here, unless you want to tell me she's, let's say, under bas mitzvah. Say a girl got married at 5 years old or 6 years old, whatever, and now her husband dies without children. Obviously, they didn't have children with her. It's preferably not to be with such a young age girl because Chas Shalom she could get pregnant. Pregnancy is possible at the young age. People don't know that. The science proved it. Even 5-year-old got pregnant. There was this whole story in 1940s. A woman got pregnant at 5 years old from her father, and whatever, but she died at 40. They say, yeah. So the Chazal tell us under 8 is very dangerous. How she survived, we don't know. Maybe it's 1 billion chances. Under 8 years old, it's not preferable to get pregnant. After now 8 years old, it's smaller chances of her dying, getting harmed from it. Smaller chances, but there's still some chance, so therefore it's not preferable. After 12 years old and up already, when God says now she's ready, and that's what exactly happened with Yaakov Avinu when he got married to Rivka. She was 3 years old. Waited 10 years for her to turn 13, when she was more physically fit to have a baby and stay alive. As obviously that's why you want to have a wife, to take care of your children. To bring everybody wants to bring children. That's a very important thing in this world. That's one of the main purposes of the creation. But obviously it has to be done with the chokhmah, with the wisdom, in order to have a wife, in order to take care of your children. And this way you cannot be busy with anything else but learning Torah whole time. Now, so we have over here, what happened is, a guy gets married to a wife. Let's say in this situation, he got married to a 7-year-old, 8-year-old, whatever it was, pre-arranged marriage. And now what happened was, she died before Bas Mitzvah. Maybe, because she died before Bas Mitzvah, maybe she doesn't have an obligation. 597 tells us it's a chiyuv. It's an obligation for a woman. I don't know. Maybe it's open for discussion, maybe, to figure out if, in that case, since she became an almana, her husband died before she's bas mitzvah, right? She's bas mitzvah only 12. Bas mitzvah indicates that now she has to follow the laws of the Torah. So in this case, her husband dies before 12. Are we telling her no? After 12 years old, you should what? Now she's obligated to marry his brother? I don't know. Maybe not. Or maybe you say no. Maybe it is. Till 12, she did not have an obligation. But now she has an obligation because mitzvah, it's incumbent here. שנמנע כל אדם מישראל מלבוא על היבמה בעודנה תחת זיקת היבם. So what happened was like this. So now, this girl, her husband died, this woman, and she has no children. So obligation on the brother to marry this girl in order to have children with her. And it says over there, Devarim, the Pasuk says in chapter 25, Pasuk A, Pasuk 5, Lo tiyeh eshet hamet achutza leish zar yibama yavo alea. The Torah tells us there is a prohibition for another man to sleep with her. And if he does sleep with her, it's a problem. So we'll discuss all in the next, actually the mitzvah number 598 and 597 are both cultivated. They're both related seriously. And we'll discuss more over there exactly what are the obligations of that person, an individual, the brother, on this woman. Mitzvah says, okay, וגם שם כתבתי קצת דיני המצווה, בענייני כמנהג ספר זה. And you'll understand more elaborately. We'll discuss mitzvah number 598. Will tell us what's the purpose of this mitzvah and everything else. Let's just finish over here. This mitzvah 597. ועובר הזה הוא בא לאיבמה. I had this situation where my father-in-law was his brother died without children, and they never did the yibum. Never did the chalitza, never did the yibum. It's a big problem. His sister-in-law got married somewhere else. It's a big problem. Now,
so
whoever
this law applies all over the world, not just in Israel.
Everywhere, yeah. Okay. ועובר על זה הוא בא לאיבמה והיא תחת זיקת האיבם חייב מלכות. Any man who touches and sleeps with a woman who is designated to be with her brother of her late husband, and they didn't do either chalitza, where it's like a default. It's not really get. It's not the worst document. It's chalitza, a breakage of this bond. There is a bond between this girl and brother-in-law because of the brother that died, and this bond has to be severed. And the only way to sever this bond is by doing a chalitza. There's an act in the Beit Din that she has to say certain things. She has to spit a certain way. She has to throw a shoe a certain way. There's a lot of things that are involved, and if she doesn't do that, she goes to sleep with somebody else. Also, she gets punished. So not just the man who sleeps with her is getting punished. A man, she will get lashed as well. As we understand, as any Isur D'Oraita. This is a Isur, this is a prohibition. Mitzvah number 598, very important mitzvah. And now, there's a big machloket between Ashkenaz world and the Sephardi world. Rabbi Yashiv, Allah Shalom, held the Ashkenazi style. They hold, since the Gemara actually mocks this practice, and the Gemara was actually praising that they to abolish this practice. Therefore, they held not to do it. Sephardi, Rav Ovadia Yosef, and most poskim achronim of Rav Sephardim said no, it doesn't work like that. It's a mitzvah d'oraita 598. It is a mitzvah today to fulfill this mitzvah. There's no such a thing. Nobody's going to do it properly with the proper intention, maybe, but still the mitzvah doesn't. Nevertheless, the mitzvah does not change. Who puts on tefillin today because Hashem commanded them? Okay, who gets married because Hashem commanded them? So come on, let's not kid ourselves. Mitzvah. Okay, so the Rabbi explains. משנצטווה מי שמת אחיו ולא הניח בנים, לקח אשת אחיו המת לא לאישה. A man who died, whose brother died, and this man now, the brother who is alive, obligated to marry his widow. וזהו הנקרא his brother's widow. ונקרא יבם בתורה ובדבריו רבותינו זיכרונם לברכה. ועל זה נאמר, this is what it means, ייבום, according to the Torah, and according to the sages' teachings. As the Torah tells us, Dvarim, chapter 25, Pasuk A, Yebama yavo alea. The man who is in line must go on her. What does that mean? Rosh Mitzvah, as we understand, she has to produce a child from this engagement.
But you said something interesting before in the beginning of the class. If she's 90 years old, she can't have kids at 90 years old.
Okay,
so the obligation of having children is obsolete now.
Yeah? Miracles don't happen.
So how?
Miracles don't happen.
Right.
Will never happen to you. Sarah got married, give birth at 90.
How's it performing the mitzvah?
That's a mitzvah. That's it. It's a mitzvah. Hashem. Who says that at 20 that they're going to have children? Who says?
There is no.
That's right. Thank you. As long as the man is kicking, he could perform the mitzvah. Remember that. The moment that the sperm is down, he's dead. The only reason why people are alive is because they have enough sperm to shoot out. count. Everything is counted. The last straw of the man is the sperm in his body. Once he's used it up, that's why I mentioned not be sleeping too much with his wife. Sleeps too much with his wife, he loses his life every second. Every time you sleep with your wife, you become dead, you're closer to your death. So the Kabbalistim, they established it twice a month, according to Shabbatot and all things. All right, it's fine. Listen, it's very hard for many people to abstain, but that's what it is. בשושי מצווה לפי שהאישה אחר שנישאת לאיש הרי היא כאחד מעבריו. What's the purpose of this mitzvah? Like this, a woman that marries a man, what happens to her? She is actually becoming like one of his limbs. שכן יחייב הטבע מפני מעשה האב הראשון שלוקחה אחת מצלותיו וממנה בנה לו אל אישה. Because we know that it says over there that Hashem took the Hatzalaot, whatever that means, a rib, a bone, whatever it is, a half of the body in the back, whatever, however you want to learn it. But Hashem took something away from a man, as it says in the Torah clearly. Man was not taken away from anything. It doesn't say that Hashem went to the cow and peeled off a little bit meat and now created a man. It doesn't say anything like that, but by a woman it does. It says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu took something from the man and created a woman. והאיש הזה שמת בלא בנים שיהיו חלק ממנו לזיכרון לו ולמעלות מקומו בעולם לעבודת בוראו, and this man that died, that he has left no remembrance and no one to go to hold on to his name and carry on his name for the future generation in order to serve God. ועוד אין זכר לו בעולם הגופני זולתי זאת האישה שהיא עצם מעצמה ובשר מבשרו. And the only remembrance of this man that we have is that this wife, this woman that he had as a wife, that's the only thing that he has. And if, as long as there was a consummated marriage between this man and this woman, the Kadosh Baruch Hu is indicating that she is part of his body. And therefore, she is some remembrance of him in this world. היה מחסדי האל עליו להקים לו זרע ממנה על ידי אחיו שהוא גם כן כחצי בשרו. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu, with his great mercy, he decided to, he commanded us to have this kind of consummation between the brother who is also half of his flesh, of the dead brother, and now this woman he is also considered to be the only remaining living specimen from the dead brother. Okay? And don't get upset with me if I call the woman as a specimen. This is just a scientific term, which is scientifically, it's not spirituality. This man that died, he's shot into her sperm. And people don't understand what a sperm does. Sperm actually grows the bones of a woman. Take a look. The Gemara talks about this whole thing. The sperm that a man shoots in his wife, and as the Gemara, as a Mishnah, I believe, says it clearly, that when a person is with his wife, he actually gives his life away for her. Every time. That's why people don't understand that the brainwashing that's going on here now, it's for this purpose. Remember, who is brainwashing you? Who's in charge of all the television, all the the social media, all those things? The people who are in charge of making sure the world does not have enough people in the world. And so what are they doing? They're promoting this concept of frivolity. You open up any page in the internet or anything, it's all about prostitution, all about selling cars with naked girls, selling beer with naked girls. The whole thing is made for one purpose and one purpose only. You have to know that. And still engraved this in your hand. In your head, they want you to have too much intercourse, because the more intercourse you do, the more sooner you die. And it says, Rambam says that most of the people die before the old age is because of too much intercourse and nothing else. And therefore, don't forget, this woman, she's not just his specimen, she is actually his living, not a small specimen, she is his full living specimen. Every time he shot up sperm into her, she gained strength. As you see, a little, let's say a virgin girl. She's a little chachka, a little somewhat weak and anything, right? But if a woman is growing and she has too much intercourse, what happens to her? She's beefy, buffy, strong, like she's becoming like a man almost, right? Because that's what happens. She got shot up with a vitamin, even though they're going to tell you it all comes out. It's not true. It's not true. It goes in and it goes and makes her stronger. So in this case, the man who was with his wife, she has all his strength. She took his sperm as his strength. So she is actually offshoot of her husband. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu made like this. ושיהיה אותו הזרע ממלא מקומו ועובד בוראות אחת או תחתיו ויזכה על ידו בעולם הנשמות אשר הוא שם. What happens now, the brother comes in and he now gives a spirit, besides the physicality that, again, that sperm is already dead, that the brother shut up 3 days later, right? 3 days later it dies, there's nothing else he could do. But some particles went into her, made her strong. So what happens now, according to the Zohar, there's a big thing over there, according to the Kabbalah, Ben Ishchai, that actually a man touches another man's wife. According to Kabbalah, it's very not so easy to touch a widow. A widow, she still has all the souls that were created into this world, that were brought into this world every time when she was with her husband, and all those souls are from her husband. So according to Zohar, not such a best thing to get married to a widow. All right, so not so easy. You have to go ask Mechila. There's a lot of rules to be done in order to get married to a widow. A man just, because he's putting himself in danger. Depends on the merits of the husband. How dare you touch my wife? So over here, when the brother goes with his wife, the brother first of all is not going to complain. He wants his brother to go into her. He wants the sperm of his brother to go and give children from that offspring. And B'ezrat Hashem, what's the purpose of that offspring? That offspring will be had the neshamot, the partial neshama from that's still in her about. It's going to go imbued into that neshama of that baby that's born. And now, B'ezrat Hashem, that child is going to be that's going to cause all his mitzvot, everything that's going to be in this world that this child does, going to go to his father. Everything. Okay? Okay, so the Torah says over there the prohibition, the sin of not being with your wife's brother it's punishable by death. And we see that the Torah, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't take it lightly. As we see the two brothers of Yehuda, two sons of Yehuda, did not want to fulfill this mitzvah of Prur Wu, and therefore HaKadosh Baruch Hu killed both of them. Right? The first brother because he spilled the sperm outside of her. Second brother also spilled the sperm outside of her because he didn't want the child to be an offspring of his brother. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu killed both of them. And in the end, Yehuda went with her, and since it was in the beginning of, obviously the father today is prohibited to be with his bride, because the Torah prohibits it, just like any marriage will of marrying your brother. Anything that after 2000, the year 2000, when up to 2000 years, everything, the world was still construction. Since it was in construction mode, that was allowed. Before Matan Torah. After Matan Torah, there was not already allowances, or any of such allowances, and therefore it's prohibited. And so as we learn the mitzvah number 200, right? Also, somebody might think, what about my father's brother's wife? A man had an uncle, and the uncle died without children, right? So the father says, I'm not doing the mitzvah, because I don't like her or whatever. You make up any excuse. Now the son says, let me know, I'll do the mitzvah of my aunt. Asur. There's the Isur Doraita of sleeping with your aunt. That's the Isur Doraita. You cannot take your uncle's wife. But then there's a mitzvah of Yibum. The mitzvah of Yibum is that could be learned that maybe a nephew could also fulfill the mitzvah. Therefore, the Torah comes and tells you another pasuk that tells you no, and that's mitzvah number 200. Don't get confused and don't think it's a mitzvah. The nephew cannot fulfill the mitzvah because of that. Otherwise, we would think it's a mitzvah. I would think that the nephew could fulfill the mitzvah. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't write mitzvah number 200, the nephew would be allowed to marry his aunt, even though the Torah says specifically nephew cannot marry the aunt for that purpose. The Torah says a man cannot marry his aunt. He cannot marry his father's brother's wife. Torah says that outright. But then the Torah tells me there's a mitzvah b'yibum, 598. And we have a rule. The rule in the Torah is mitzvat aseh doche lo taseh. Anytime Hashem made a commandment, and then Hashem says withhold, the rule is commandment overpowers the withholding. So over here we have a dilemma. What would be the we have a dilemma. We are confused. So in order to have no dilemma, not to make any mistakes, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to command us mitzvah number 200, outlining this specific prohibition. A nephew cannot marry his father's brother's wife, widow.
A nephew cannot
marry his father's brother's widow. Okay. מדיני המצווה, מה שאנחנו אמרנו זכרונם בברכה, שמצוות הייבום היא בין שהייתה אשתו של אחיו mina nisuin or afilu mina irusin. This mitzvah is not only after marriage, right? I just build you a whole consummation. There was sperm shot up to her. Over here, the rabbi says no. The halacha is even after engagement alone. In the olden days, they used to take a long time engagement. Rabbanan Baruch Hashem stopped it. Nobody would hold with him today. Today, after engagement, people will be very frivolous. One of the reasons, I'm already engaged with her. Let me go with her already. Chas v'shalom. Therefore, the Rabbanan says the engagement and the wedding takes place on the spot, under the chuppah. Not like in the olden days where they obviously were more holier people. There was less concern about the man engaging a girl and then building up funds in order to get married to her. Today it's haram already. I think every marriage should take place less than a week. Besides the folk, if you could afford $150 bottle of wine on the table for Shabbat, you could afford to get married right away next week. Anyway, this is my opinion. Nobody cares about it anyway. Yeah, people like to do aviro now because everybody's tzaddikim. Rabbi, you don't say I'm sitting on slichot, right? I have a big problem with slichot. Big problem. The slichot is all about what? We sinned. How in the world do I have a right to say other people sinned? I could say Hashem have mercy on us because okay, I'm a Klal Israel. But how in the world I can't answer this question.
Well, listen.
What?
If somebody doesn't sin, it doesn't just affect him, it affects all of Am Israel. We're all connected. So therefore, you can say we sin.
No. So say maybe we sinned. Chatanu lefanecha. What do you mean chatanu? I'm not chatanu. Who do you think you are to talk for another person?
Because one person...
I understand I sinned. I know I sinned. How do I know you sinned?
If you sinned, you affect me.
No. But you didn't sin. It's my sin.
But it's affecting me.
But I understand what you're saying, Habibi.
So if you understand it, then that carries it.
No, but I can't say out loud, Chatanu. I'm putting down other Jews. That's what I'm concerned.
But you're praying for somebody who's not going to pray.
Well, who told you?
Rabbi, if there's somebody out there
who's there? You know such people? I don't know such people. I don't know what you're talking about. You open your eyes. You open your eyes to the whole world. You want to see. You want to say that the person that you don't see praying. How do you know he didn't pray today?
I don't know.
So that's it.
That's right. I don't know.
Good.
So if I don't know, and just in case he did,
you're judging him.
I'm not judging him.
You're passing judgment.
That's not passing judgment.
I think it is.
That's not passing.
Like I said,
I think the rabbis have to be a lot more smarter than you and I sitting at this.
That's what the question is. That's my question. How am I allowed to say Chatanu Lifanecha as if I'm putting other Jews in my basket? I'm the sinner. Why are there sinners? Who said they're sinning?
So let's say you do know somebody who's not.
I don't know who's sinning. You know anybody who's sinning?
I don't know anything.
That's it. That's good. Thank you. That's the point. That's exactly the point. We don't know nothing, and yet we are opening our mouths. Here, you hear this? You hear this? Question? Listen. I'm sure I'm not including you, and I don't want to include anybody in my sins. Yeah, I'm sitting on slichot, and I'm saying Chatanu lefanecha. Yeah. I should say Chatati lefanecha and chalas. I should be responsible for my sins because I know I sin. But how am I to put other people in my basket just because I sin? Other people sin also. Mazepo.
I plead the fifth.
Plead the fifth. Smart. You see, Rafael. See, Rafael. Yeah, this is the difference. He wasn't here 28 days. He's trying to attack me from that side. He's the fifth are finished. I'm not talking. בעניין זה שיש נשים שהן פטורות מן הייבום וגם מן החליצה. So there are some women who don't fulfill the mitzvah of ייבום וחליצה, ואלו הן אשת הסריס.
Translation, what was that word?
The what?
The
ייבום. We describe the mitzvah.
When they don't marry their brother.
The brother. In certain cases they don't. So באשת סריס. סריס חמה ואנדרוגינוס ואשת השוטה ואשת הקטן. So there are some women who have their husbands, I guess, are not 100% fully functioning part of society members, or even physically. If they're not physically, in those cases, when they marry, then they will not be obligated, if their husband dies, to go with their brother-in-law. Okay, now, somebody didn't fulfill the mitzvah of Yibum, did not go and sleep with his widow, of his brother's widow. At least one time he has to be with her. Nobody says the guarantee that she's going to get pregnant, but I'm saying That mitzvah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants one mitzvah d'oraita. One time at least has to be with her. Ze o shelo patar b'chalitza, or didn't give her chalitza, bitel aseh zeh. If he didn't do chalitza, as we already described, the spitting, the shoe, and the whole thing over there, that he has to perform if he doesn't want to be with her. In that case, he has, or mitzvah number 599 is going to be speaking about mitzvah chalitza. That will be discussed tomorrow, B'ezrat Hashem. How do we perform this disengagement, the severing this concept of marriage that the Torah obligates this person to perform, and B'ezrat Hashem tomorrow we'll discuss. Okay, B'ezrat Hashem will continue Gemara right now. One second, how do I stop this thing now? Okay, live podcast. Let's see. I don't know. Okay, no, stop. Let's press X. Are you sure you want to stop streaming? Yes. Okay, good.